It's Iron King, and I'm really excited to bring to you another guide to Legends of Barovia, an expanded campaign to Curse of Strahd. In this video, we're going to be covering the Court of the Count. This is the second floor of Ravenloft. I'm really excited about it. A lot of changes and new content here to show you. Before I get started, a huge shout out to my supporters. It is your support that allows me to put these detailed video guides together, the early playtest PDF guides, the Foundry Adventure modules, the voice acting, player handouts, and so much more. We've got over 900 supporters. Look at all these people making this happen. It's been a year and a half. It's been a fun and amazing journey. We're really excited that we're finally here at Ravenloft. If you're interested in becoming a supporter, you can. There's some links down below. In addition, you probably already know this, we began releasing our playtest PDF early access free. We have them fully edited by Jesse winners of Dual Storytelling. We've been releasing free print-friendly versions of them. We've got the guide, a campaign guide, player guide, the Epic Fae Quest, and Count Lugosi's Manor, the alternative to the Death House. Those are available for free. There's links down below to pick those up, and each month we'll be releasing another free guide. Now, if you are a donating member, you're going to get the early playtesting version of these guides, of voice acting, the additional artwork that I put together, including I do all the work and put all of that free content and those free maps in Foundry for you to enjoy, including the links back to D&D Beyond Curse of Strahd. Of course, you're going to need to own Curse of Strahd and D&D Beyond for those links to work. But if you're interested in becoming a member, there's a link down below. Now, a special shout out and acknowledgement to my partner in this epic journey through the lands of Barovia, and that's Diamandi. We're going to be looking at a gorgeous battle map here of the Court of the Count. This is the free version in WebP. However, if you're interested in the 8K high resolution, or you need some nighttime, daytime, or weather effects, fog or rain, all of those are available in his great map packs. Highly recommend them. They're over on his Patreon page. There's a link in the description below. And in addition, Blair, none of this would happen in Foundry if it wasn't for Blair. His Scene Packer module, his V9 Plus adventure modules will allow us to release these in one module for version 8, version 9, and version 10. In addition, both Blair and Diamandi are on our Discord server, answering questions and helping our great community. We have over 700 people on a really active Discord channel, sharing ideas, helping one another have a wonderful campaign in Curse of Strahd. You don't need to be a member to join. There's a link down at the bottom. Come on over and say hello. I love reading those campaign stories. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's jump into the Court of the Count. Now, before we get into this, and I just want to bring I got my character right here. I'll just bring him over here. I want to show this from the player's perspective in Ravenloft. I'm going to reset the Fog of War here. From the player's perspective, as well as the DM's perspective. And to give a little background here, if you've read in the campaign guide, the timeline, this castle was built in the year 50, and it's approximately 740 when the players have arrived. So this castle is almost 700 years old, and it has a history of other lords and kings that have lived here. And when Strahd took over Barovia and took this castle, and he had the architect Artemis add the Spire of Ravenloft, renamed the castle after his mother to Castle Ravenloft, and it took on a darker, it definitely became a darker place. But the castle has a lot of remnants and history from its time before it became Ravenloft. And some of that stuff is going to be revealed in this particular guide. Just want to point that out to you, is to understand that there is some deep, rich history here. It goes beyond Strahd, and it kind of permeates and haunts through its spirits a time, probably a more pleasant time before Strahd came to power. So here we are. We've gone up the two stairwells right here to the top, and we've arrived in the audience hall. And we got this gorgeous map by Diamandi. Now let's talk a little bit about the audience hall. And I have K25. I do have a Theater of the Mind map for that. So let's look at it from a Theater of the Mind map perspective. And I'll read about the changes here that I've made to the audience hall, giving it some atmosphere and introducing two elements that weave the story together. The ghostly light from the courtyard enters the great room through the broken glass of the large window to the west wall. The large room is cold and empty, and the sound of your footfalls make a haunting echo through the great hall. Hundreds of dusty cobwebs obscure the ceiling from view. Directly opposite of the window are a set of double doors, and at the far east end of the hall, there's another single door. In the center, in the south, raised on a stone platform is a great throne, and a glint of light reflects off something protruding from the throne. As you step further into the large audience hall, a dozen voices fill your mind. The words echo and repeat. Death, death, death. Betrayal, betrayal, betrayal. Murder, darkness, evil. The whispers come to abrupt halt as lightning flashes. The sound of thunder, as if commanding them to stop. A gust of wind blows through the large broken window, leaving a chill in the air. Your attention is drawn to a throne. A dagger has been thrust in the back of the throne, its sharp blade protruding is punctured through. You notice on the throne a faded letter. Now, those voices that you heard, I imagine they are remnants of spirits from times long ago, warning you that this place has turned to darkness and to evil, and the crack of thunder. By the way, that's using Monk's Act the Tile token with a little bit of light and sound effects there. You can just double click this box up here. Adds a little bit of atmosphere. I really like it. Let's talk about the letter first. There's a letter on the throne, a faded letter, and this letter ties into the Leo Sergei Strahd thread storyline, as well as the diary of Lady Walker. And I imagine your players have roamed around throughout Barovia at this time, putting the pieces of the puzzle together. And this is one of those moments, that enlightening moments, where all those clues, all those things you read come to this moment, this realizing moment here. It also ties into the dagger. So let's take a look at Leo's letter to read what it says here. So the letter says, Sergei, the death of father and the war has haunted our brother. He grows distraught and is not in his right mind. Strahd seeks to end thy engagement with Tatyana. A shadow has been cast upon you. Time grows late, and I fear our brother has been consumed by a monstrous specter. Leave Ravenloft and take Tatyana far from these lands, which edge evermore into darkness. Signed, Leo. Now, the players have probably learned at this point, both visiting the Vistani and the Tesser pool, as well as finding the Dyer and Lady Walker's house, is that Leo is Strahd's bastard brother, and Leo attempts to warn Sergei. This is also revealed in the diary, that Strahd is trying to kill Sergei, and that Strahd is trying to break up this marriage, right? Leo flees to Lady Walker, who at the time, she's not a lady, just Walker, she's a daughter of a merchant, his lover. This is hundreds of years ago, of course, and she betrays him. So how does this dagger tie into this? Let's take a look at the dagger while I read about it. We got a really cool item here. I really love this dagger. I think you guys are going to like it too. So let's take a look at the artwork, and I'll read about the dagger here as we look at the artwork here. So the dagger here, this dagger, by the way, was inspired by content from earlier editions of Ravenloft, 2nd and 3rd edition, as well as the Strahd novels. And by the way, there's an Easter egg that references the Versi is in the mirror in Curse of Strahd. So there is an Easter egg, kind of tying in the old lore of Ravenloft into the modern version of Curse of Strahd. And I decided to weave it all together into the legends of Barovia, bringing the dagger, Leo, Sergei, and Strahd all culminating into this one moment where they find this letter and see this dagger thrusted through the back of the throne. As you know, Leo had realized, Strahd's bastard brother realized that he found out Strahd was plotting to kill Sergei. And Leo attempted to warn Sergei by writing this letter to him. And then Leo went to a mysterious organization, the Faceless Assassins, the Versi, via the magic mirror. Now, I imagine the Faceless Assassins are kind of reminiscent, kind of similar to the Faceless ones in the Game of Thrones. Leo did the ritual to the magic mirror and called upon one of these assassins that arrived through the magic mirror faceless to have Strahd killed and to end his terrible reign. Now, the faceless Balsari, the Versi assassin materialized and took on the appearance of Leo to gain entry into Ravenloft in an attempt to kill Strahd. And this is referenced in the old books that Leo was one of these Balsari assassins. Well, that's the story. The truth was, it was the faceless assassin that took on the appearance of Leo. Now, unknown to Leo, Sergei, and the assassin, Strahd had intercepted the letter that Leo wrote to Sergei. So he knew that Leo was planning something. He is warning his brother, take Tatyana and flee. Leo's going to do something crazy. So when the assassin arrived, looking like Leo, and then tried to stab Strahd with the dagger that went through the throne, Strahd was ready and killed the assassin. And when the assassin fell to the ground and died, looking like Leo, Leo's face began to fade and became faceless. And at that moment, Strahd realized this is one of the fabled the Versi assassins, faceless assassins at that point. Strahd did learn that Leo was hiding at this point with his lover, Lavona Walker. She was the merchant's daughter and Leo's lover. And if you've read her diary, which the players will find in Walker's house with the bones of Leo there, the diary shows that Lavona Walker betrayed her lover to Strahd because she wanted to become a noble. And Strahd makes her a minor noble. In exchange, Leo's lover, Lavona Walker, Lady Walker's great-great ancestor, poisons and murders Leo in order to gain status. And so this ties in the reason why the Walker family are loyal to Strahd. Lady Walker's great-great-great ancestor murdered her lover, Leo, Strahd's bastard brother, who plotted to murder Strahd. So it all ties in together here. Now, Strahd recognizes what this dagger is once the assassin's killed, and he leaves the dagger in the throne, not wanting to touch it because it's cursed. And as a reminder that Strahd can't trust anybody. Even his bastard brother tried to kill him. So Strahd is, paranoid at this point. Now, this dagger is really cool. So let's talk about the elements of this dagger. It's got kind of this Damascus blade sticking in it, black Damascus blade, this gold handle, this kind of black marble and gold hilt on it. Now, it has some really cool features. So if the players grab the dagger and just use it as a normal dagger, they need to attune to it. If players do an Arcana check, they're going to realize that there's some serious magic in this dagger. And if they do the Identify spell and succeed in that, they're going to realize some of its features. What they won't realize, it's cursed. And the player who attunes this dagger will suffer the curse. We'll talk about that in a second. Now, this is one of those magic items which the players have managed to get to Ravenloft and find that is extremely powerful and deadly, but at the same time, it has got a really bad curse attached to it. It's one of those crazy balanced, crazy magic items, and I really love this thing. It's got Deadly Strike. Deadly Strike means this dagger gets a +2 on attack and +2 damage and crits on a 19 and 20. That means it's doing 10% chance to crit with a +2. Crazy weapon. It's got a Damascus blade. That means it's going to ignore non-magical and non-adamantine armor. So if a player is wearing non-magical and non-adamantine armor, this thing's going to cut through it like butter. The player's going to use 10 plus their dexterity modifier, and this blade just cuts through that armor like butter, right? In addition, it has Assassin Strike. That means if you do get a crit, it does an additional 1d12 worth of damage. So its stats on this weapon are phenomenal. The +2 on the attack, +2 on the damage, crits on 19 and 20, cuts through regular armor like butter, and does an additional 1d12 worth of damage on a critical strike. And it's perfect. This is exactly the kind of dagger that one of these faceless assassins would have. However, the dagger is cursed. It has the normal curse feature that you normally would find with a cursed weapon, meaning that you're compelled to use it, that you don't want to get rid of it, you're compelled to use it, and if you try to use any other weapon, you'll be using that other weapon at disadvantage. So you're compelled to use this weapon. However, there's two other effects of this curse. One is a mechanical effect, and one is more of a theatrical fiction effect. The mechanical effect If you use this dagger and you're attuned to it, and it draws blood, you'll be compelled to continue to attack the creature that you've drawn blood from over and over and over until that creature's dead. Now, at the start of your turn, you can attempt a wisdom save, DC 15, to stop attacking, right? So you don't attack. But if you fail, you're going to attack again with a dagger, and you're going to attack again. And so at the start of your turn, you get to go ahead and try those wisdom saves, trying to keep yourself, compelled from attacking, but you're going to attack. The dagger wants blood. Once it tastes blood, it wants blood. Now, here's the fictional side of what happens into it, the theatrical, fictional element. If the creature dies that you've drawn blood from with this dagger, once that creature's dead, you're going to be compelled, you're going to grab the blade, and you're going to lick the blood off the blade before you sheath it. And from that moment forth, every long rest, you're going to dream of that creature's dying breath, and the taste of warm blood will fill your mouth. That's going to happen every long rest, dreaming. And that's what this dagger is. It's an assassin's dagger. It loves the taste of blood. And it shares that taste of blood with the assassin who's attuned to it. They remember the death and the dying breath of every one of their victims. They can taste the blood of every one of their victims that this dagger's killed. So yes, it is a cool, powerful item. It's got a really bad curse attached to it. So I just think this thing is the bomb. I really like it. So that's the dagger. That's how the dagger is there. You've got the letter that ties Leo in with the dagger. It just brings it all together. I really like this scene. Of course, we've got the great Theater of the Mind map as well here. And, of course, the lightning and thunder. Now, going back to the battle map here, we're going to first go into the accountant's room. And I made some changes there as well. Now, let's take a look. DM Andy, by the way, does phenomenal work. I mean, look at all the papers on the ground, the books, the table, we got the candle lights. I did the little lighting there and there. So let's talk about the accountant's room. And again, I have a Theater of the Mind map. I like to use Theater of the Mind maps because they create a common frame of reference for situations that are going to be more role-playing rather than combat. So if you're going to do a role-playing and you want to cut down on your detailed descriptions, you can use a Theater of the Mind map and then spending your time describing the atmosphere, the tone, the feeling, rather than just the visual looks of it. So, and it also, if you're using Foundry, it allows you to put all your characters on one screen and have that on there. So we're going to go ahead and check out the Theater of the Mind map. This is the King's Accountant. There he is, Leif. And again, you can go ahead and put your player characters right here in the bottom of the screen. So now you've got this scene, you got the candles flickering, you're there in the accountant's chamber. Now I made some changes here as well, and I was a little frustrated with this because I don't see Strahd shackling this guy to a table to be keeping a ledger in there. I wanted to flesh this out a little bit more, and I think Strahd's a little bit more cunning and twisted in what he's done with Leif. And Leif has a specific purpose, which I think is important here. We'll be talking about that as well. So as you step in this room, it's dusty scrolls and tombs fill the wall. There's books and scattered and papers all over the floor, and there's a desk. And at this desk, there's a figure kind of crouched over this desk. He's kind of crazy, he seems. He's just sitting there, and he's scratching with a dry quill pen on a piece of paper in there. And you can hear him under his breath. He's like, "It must be here. It must. I must find the missing gold before Strahd finds out. Oh my God, before he learns of it, someone's stolen it. Perhaps it's one of the Burgermeisters." He's so focused that he won't even recognize the players have walked into the room. The players are going to have to interrupt him from his crazy, insane focus on there. Now, Leif is Strahd's treasurer, and he seems to have gone mad. Strahd has charmed him and used the modified memory spell on him on more than one occasion, so many times that Leif has actually gone insane. Leif does not know how long he's been here. He doesn't even know what village he's come from. He doesn't even know if he has a family. Those memories are long gone. Now, Leif is tasked with keeping track of Strahd's wealth and also in charge of minting the Strahd gold coins. And let's talk about these Strahd gold coins because they're an interesting element introduced in the game. I've got a picture of one here. Let's take a look at it as we talk about Strahd's gold coins. Now, Leif is in charge of minting these coins. And the coin is about twice the size of a normal gold coin. It's worth 2 gold pieces. And Strahd uses these coins to scry on the population and the economy to track concentrations of wealth. And when I say scry, it's not the typical scrying that you would think of. These are more like GPS tracking scries. He doesn't know who has the coin. He just can know where the coins are, where they're moving, where a concentration of these coins are. I imagine Strahd will always, maybe if he's concerned about a concentration of these coins or where they're moving, he could send a minion to find out what's going on or who has the coins. For instance, if the players happen to have these coins and be heading up to the Amber Temple, he'll know that some coins are moving in that direction and probably send minions to find out what's going on. So this is a way of him tracking wealth. And this is a more recent strategy that Strahd's deployed. So what Strahd is doing is he's collecting taxes, which are in the chest, and he doesn't need the taxes. He doesn't need the copper pieces. He doesn't need the wealth. He's using the tax collecting as a way of disguise so he can reintroduce from the taxes the Strahd gold coins into the economy. He wants to replace, over time, slowly replace all the normal methods of currency, the silver pieces, the gold pieces, with just Strahd's gold coins. So it's a way of him keeping track of where everything's going on, his economy, how money is moving. It's very important to him. Remember, Strahd's very intelligent. He's been around 400 years and he understands the power of wealth. And obviously there's a lot of wealth struggles going on in Vallaki. Now these coins will appear in Strahd's areas of influence already. So the players may already have some of these gold coins. These gold coins would be found, for instance, in the coffin maker shop, who was paid to bring the vampire spawn into the town. They would be, certainly Vasily would have them, certainly Ernst would have them, Lady Walker would have them, the Vistani Vallaki, who are spies for Strahd. So anybody that's influenced by Strahd or already working with Strahd will most likely have these coins. So it is possible these coins do fall in to the gear that players have collected. Some of these gold coins, it's possible, and so he could track where these gold coins are. Again, he won't know the players have them until he sends a minion or a spy to find out who has them, but it's a way for him to track them. Now, Leif is upset and believes that gold is being stolen or missing and greatly fears Strahd. He's unable to track down this missing money. In reality, no gold has been stolen. Rather than having to chain Leif to the table, Strahd has put this as a modified memory in him that the gold has been stolen or is missing, and Leif must find it. This makes Leif go insane. Leif is so fearful of Strahd and not being able to find this money, this task that he's been put to, that he won't leave this chamber. All the papers on the floor, the reason this place is mess is he's gone insane trying to track down missing money that's never going to be missing. And so this is kind of a memory. It's a shackle of his memory, forcing him to stay there to try to find where did this money go? I know it's stolen. Nothing's been stolen, so he's rechecking his numbers over and over and over again. Now, if Leif is treated with kindness, he will share with the players, Strahd does have his own secret treasure somewhere hidden in the castle. Castle Ravenloft is full of hidden rooms and secret doors. I don't know where it would be, but there is a treasure here. I know Strahd has a great treasure. He cares little for these copper pieces and the treasure in this room. This is just the tax collecting. He also knows, and he's heard, there's a great treasure high in a temple in the mountains in the snow beyond the gates of Slinka. I've heard whispers of it by the Lord himself. This is a hint to the Amber Temple. He doesn't know it's the Amber Temple, but again, he's been around long enough to hear whispers, so if the players are friendly to him, he will share those two particular things. He will also share that he's there to collect the taxes from Strahd, on Strahd's behalf, from the villages, and then replace and introduce the new gold coins that he's missing, the Strahd coins as we see here. And he will say Strahd's obsessed with getting the coins in circulation. He talks about, tracking and concentrations of wealth. He will imply that Strahd has some method of knowing where the coins are, but he won't know how. You want to be delicate in this and not just blot out, Strahd uses them in scrying. Strahd wants to use these to track. It's a way of him tracking It's kind of a secret on how Strahd does this. Now, if the players threaten Leif, he will call forth, he will pull this long tassel and call forth in 1d6 rounds, monsters will come out in. So if Leif feels threatened, if Leif feels the party are going to steal Strahd's gold, he will ring this tassel. And we've got those monsters here. I've got a roll table in here for the monsters, and I'll show you some of them. They're pretty creepy. We got quite a few of them here. Let's bring them into play so you can take a look at them. So you would roll on this roll table. I'll go ahead and do that so you can see how that works. Hold on. So we just bring up the chat log here, and let's go ahead and roll on the table and see what comes up. We hit roll. Okay, we're going to get shadows, and we're going to get 4 shadows. And so let's take a look at the shadows here, and we've got all these monsters here. And let's see, there's the shadows. Where are the shadows? There we go. So we got shadows. What else do we have? We have whites, we have wraths. We have vampire spawn too. Those are pretty nasty. And I think we have something else as well that we might jump in here. Oh, specters. There we go. These are the possible creatures that would show up if he rings the bell that the players, and a variable number of them that would show up that the players would have to face off against here if he does ring that bell. So let's go back and check that out. That's the experience there with Leif. Leif won't leave this room again. He's just insane. Now the players decide to go through the double doors up here. It opens up into a hall, and one of the things, and I want to talk a little bit about secret doors. One of the things that I find personally frustrating with secret doors, and you can unfortunately train your players to be Pavlov dogs if you run secret doors kind of basically, meaning that if they know that they have to search every single room to find a secret door, you're going to go through this kind of Pavlov's dog roll. Did you find it? No, I did find it. Yes, I did find it. And then it's just a rinse and repeat. And it kind of makes the engagement or the encounter boring after a while. So the way I like to reveal secret doors is rather than perception checks or passive perception checks, the players do something mechanically in the room or fictionally in the room that reveals something. And I'd introduce that here. Sometimes you might be like, you remove this book, you find an interesting book on this bookshelf, and they remove it, and then it accidentally reveals the secret door. Well, that's what we've done here. In this guard's post hallway, I left it pretty much rules as written, except for the fact that these skeletons in armor who are standing there aren't just useless. They're both a one-use trap. You have, they've got this rusted armor, and they're holding a halberd. So if you get close, if you go up north to the skeleton that's up north here, right here, you're going to have to roll a DC 15 dexterity check because this halberd's going to come slashing down, and the armor is going to fall as well on top of you. You could take 1d10 slashing damage from that armor. When the armor and the skeleton fall forward, it reveals behind it with all the cobwebs that there's a door there. So even in Foundry, even though I'm using a secret door, what I'm doing from the fiction side is, they're going to roll that DC 15 dexterity check to see if that trap of the halberd and the armor has fallen on them and done any damage, and it's going to fall and crash onto the floor. And you're going to notice the cobwebs have kind of pulled away, and there's a door that was behind the skeleton with the armor on it, and that reveals the secret door here. And it's not really a secret, it's more of a hidden door behind the cobwebs and the suit of armor. So I did that instead here, and this is area K26, the guard's post. Now if you head north of here, there's a door here. You're going to see some light coming on underneath the crack of the door, and you enter into here, and this is the Maid's chamber, K32, Maid in Hell, and this is where they run into Helga. And again, I made some additions and changes to this. This is an image of Helga. We get to look at her here. She's got that ruby necklace. She looks fairly young here. And there, when you walk in there, the room's lit with oil lamps, and there's this woman. She's laying a sheet on one of the beds, and she's folding some stuff up. She looks surprised, and she drops the sheet when she sees you. Now, the Maid is a vampire spawn. She's 60 years old, but she seems to be in her early 20s. She was a village girl from Vallaki, and she is the daughter of the shoemaker, the bootmaker, from 2 generations ago. She's been missing for 2 generations. Now, she had come to the castle to be a lady in waiting to the servant, Lady Anastasia Karolova, one of Strahd's vampire brides, and when she had no idea when she came to be a lady in waiting what was going to happen. And so Lady Karolova has not only fed on her and converted her into a vampire spawn, but has also groomed her to be her servant as well. So she is a vampire spawn who is Lady Karolova's servant. Now, when you're going to be role-playing her, I would suggest that she's passive. She believes that her role is to serve the lady. She seems to have been charmed. She won't say anything negative. She seems to be a little brainwashed. She'd like to have a little better life. She's certainly fearful of Strahd, won't even use his name. She just refers to him as Lord. However, this is all play acting. She is a cunning and plotting vampire, fiercely loyal to Lady Karolova. Now, she's going to share some interesting things with the party, right? The first thing she's going to say is, I have served Lady Karolova for several years. However, the lady has hired another lady in waiting, Gratuda. I fear my lady is not happy with my work and wishes to replace me. I only wish to serve. The last I saw of Gratuda, she was heading towards the Lord's private chamber, perhaps to report me to the Lord. So she's going to be passive and kind of submissive. She's going to act jealous that Lady Karolova may not be happy with her work, and she's hired another lady in waiting, Gratuda, who is up in the private chambers, Lord Strahd's private chamber. So this kind of brings us in. If the players remember when they rescued Willa, met with Mad Mary, Gratuda is her daughter that had got a job, just like Helga got a job, thinking she's going to be a lady in waiting. Really, Gertruda's being fed on by Helga, Lady Karolova, Strahd. They're all feeding off of her, and they're going to eventually turn her into another vampire spawn, just like Helga. Now, if she's asked about some other things, I have some stuff in here. If she's asked about Lady Karolova, she said, oh, she's betrothed to Strahd. She's a noble bloodline at residence here in the castle. She's away, but should be returning soon. Of course, she's not returning soon because she's already here, but Helga's never going to reveal that to the players. If she asks about Strahd, she never says Strahd by name. She sounds fearful and passive. She'll say, he is the Lord of Barovia. He is the Lord of Castle Ravenloft. I've not seen the Lord recently. I imagine his duties and responsibilities are great. I am merely a lady in waiting to Lady Karolova, and I don't know of such matters. So she's going to act like she doesn't really know. Like she's seen him a couple times in passing, but she doesn't really know anything about him. Which, again, is not true, right? She's asked about Ravenloft. It's a castle with a long, long history. My duties keep me to the private chambers and the guest halls, and I'm forbidden to the lower level. Again, flat out lie. She's been down to the catacombs. She knows this place inside and out. She's a vampire spawn. If she asks about Leif, who's the accountant, she'll say, he's a crazy old man. I believe he's stealing the Lord's gold. He may have fooled the Lord, but he hasn't fooled me. She'll reinforce the fact that he's crazy. And Gratuda has her own reasons. She wants to feed on Leif. I mean, he's a blood bag, right? I mean, any body with blood on it, vampires like to feed on. Strahd refuses to allow Helga to feed on Leif, so she's a little pissed, right? Strahd has a mission. Leif has got to start minting those coins. He's got to collect taxes and get that new Strahd coinage into circulation. He's got a mission. He doesn't want Helga interfering with that. So she's a little upset. She wants to feed on him. There's a blood bag in the castle I want to feed. If the players have run into Cyrus Bellevue or Will, or they ask about it, she'll say, or she might volunteer this, it's like, Cyrus is a shifty little creature, a tittle-tattle rat. He is the Lord's groveling toady. He is not to be trusted. I do not know what the Lord sees in that little grimy toad. This is the only thing that Helga will say that is true. Helga does not like Cyrus Bellevue. He is a mongrel folk. He is not a vampire. And he has kind of the Lord's ear. He's kind of doing things around the castle. Helga is like under the charge of Lady Karolova and feels like she's more important or should be respected more than Cyrus. So this is kind of a tit for tat jealousy. Cyrus doesn't like her. She doesn't like Cyrus. So if that comes into play, you can role play this and make this kind of a tit for tat thing. Now, if she's invited to join the party, she will, but she'll be passive. She'll act very meek and passive. She'll just want to leave. She doesn't want to have any problems with Strahd or the lady and all that, and she will be willing to go with the players. Now, what she's secretly doing, she's plotting to make her epic attack. She's not going to do this by herself. She's going to look for an opportunity. Maybe the players get engaged in a trap. Maybe the players are involved with some other creatures, and at that moment she's going to strike, and she's going to strike the weakest player that she sees. She's going to try to pull them out of combat and attack that weak player. Now she could be commanded to attack by either Lord Strahd or Lady Karolova, who she's fiercely loyal to. The treasure is around her neck. That ruby is worth 750 golds. It's centuries old. It was given to her by Lady Karolova. So that is how I would role play Helga in here. All right, so we're gonna head down and we're gonna go into the hall here, the big hall, and this is called the King's Hall. Now, I personally really didn't like the rules as written here. They got a mannequin dummy of Strahd on like a contraption to kind of go across the ceiling. It seemed kind of cheesy carnival phone house to me, and I feel Ravenloft has got some more interesting traps. I see this particular location kind of reminds me of the opening in Raiders of the Lost Ark. As you remember when Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones, is trying to go up there and get that gold statue, and he steps on those tiles and those arrows come flying out of the wall? That's what I imagine here. So as the players enter this hall, the vaulted ceiling is draped in cobwebs, and there are statues of archers all along aligning this wall. There's a set of double doors at the end of the hall. Now the trap here is somewhere in the middle of the hall, the middle tiles of the hall, and you can decide where they are. Now, if a character has a passive perception of 18 or higher, or if they're actively looking for traps and they roll an 18 or higher, they're going to notice that the tiles in the center of the room here, these tiles in the center room, there's something interesting about them. They look like they're pressure plate tiles or something. They could be with a trap. If they go ahead and start investigating it, they'll realize it's a triggering mechanism for some type of trap. If they start investigating the statues, they'll realize all the statues have real arrows in them. Now, if they don't notice the trap and they trigger it, all the statues immediately turn towards the players and fire off arrows. Every player in this hall is going to get hit by an arrow for 1d6 worth of damage. It's like, and they're going to be hit with it. So they got to find it, otherwise they're going to trigger it and be tripped. Now, how did I do this in Foundry? Well, I'm using Monk's active tile triggers. I'll show you. Here's the tile here. You can kind of see it outlined right here. So you decide, the DM, you decide when the players are in this hall, anywhere in this hall, and they've triggered the trap, okay? All you're going to do is you're going to double click in here, and you're going to hear the arrows, and the damage is going to be automatically rolled. Let's take a look to show you how this works. So just double click anywhere in this tile, and this is what will happen. You heard the arrows. And each character in here is going to take 1d6 worth of damage. So the arrows start flying at them. I just imagine they're all kind of shocked. And then all of a sudden the archers slowly go back to their position that they were at. The trap resets 1 minute after the characters and the creatures leave this room. Arrows kind of slide out of the wall back into their place, and the archers go back into position. So this trap can be triggered over and over again. And I imagine this might be something fun as the players may be going through a chase scene, maybe Strahd's chasing, they run down this hallway, they trigger the trap, all of a sudden the arrows come flying through here. I mean, you can have a lot of fun with this. I think it's a lot better than a silly mannequin of Strahd flying across the ceiling, which I just think is just, I don't know, silly. That's just me. Maybe you like the mannequin. I left this area outside here pretty much unchanged. We've got the two creatures. They're and I would say it looks like there's two kind of dead bodies sitting there dressed in regal clothing. If the player characters get within 5 feet, and I wouldn't say behind it, but in front, on the side of it or in front, or they touch these creatures sitting here in these chairs, you just bring them to life. We've got our two Strahd Zombies here. And if you want to add some theatrical elements, if you're playing in Foundry, I add a button to add some lightning effects here while this happens. Kind of like they touch one of them and lightning strikes, and zombies come alive. So the other area that we have sorry about that, is Tatyana's room. This is the servants' quarters, and this area is accessed through both the secret door and a ladder, a stone staircase. It comes up from K24, I believe. Yeah, this is K34. And I changed this into Tatyana's room. In fact, just like the audience hall and the King's Account, I have a servants' rooms theater, the mind map. So let's go ahead and go to that. And here's our servants' room. And I'm going to bring my character into here. There we go. So they step up here, and I'll read the description. I made some significant changes here. A ghostly light fills the room from a broken window. The room is in disarray, furniture broken, destroyed, in a fit of rage from a time long ago. Now it's covered in cobwebs and dust. A wardrobe stands along the wall. Faded painting of a spring flowers adorn the doors, and a full-length mirror cracked stands next to the wardrobe. A set of stairs leads down along the north wall. Now, if there's a good aligned player and they look into the mirror, and you can see that here. Let's just zoom in on DM Andy's page. You can see the mirror right here, the cracked mirror, and you also have it in here. If they look into a mirror, a good aligned player, this is what you read to them. As you're looking into the mirror, you see a beautiful woman with auburn hair trying on a wedding dress. She's smiling and seems happy. The room is full of sunlight and the color of spring. The image slowly fades, and a new image appears. It's the same woman wearing the dress. Tears are rolling down her cheek. She stands on a railing overlooking a valley. The sky is dark, and fog covers the valley below. You see her lips move, but you're unable to hear what she says. She looks down, and a single tear falls from her cheek, and she steps off the railing. You're so moved by the image that you reach out to try to stop her, but as you do, your hand touches the mirror and the image fades. You're seeing this moment of Tatyana happy, getting ready to be married to Sergei, and that moment in which she finds out that Strahd has murdered Sergei and she commits suicide, jumping off the Overlook. If you watch the guide, which includes the Overlook, those whispers or those things that she's saying that you can't hear in the mirror, you can hear at the Overlook. You can hear her whispers of what she's saying at the Overlook, tying in that Overlook scene with this scene in the mirror as well. Now, hidden in the wardrobe, if you do an investigation check, in the wardrobe, hidden in there is Tatyana's diary. And I have this in PDF form as well. Let me show you. And this PDF is available for free. Here it is. I'll put a link in the description below. This is a player handout. And what's nice about this PDF is it does fill in some background and history that happened several centuries ago with Tatyana and Sergei, but it also reveals that there is a secret door in this room. So if they get this, it's only a couple of pages long, right? Here it is. The second page, it says, I escape each night through the secret door in my room that leads into the tower. I take the tower wall to secretly meet with Prince Sergei. We've exchanged several kisses, and he wishes to take me away from here when the war ends. So this diary covers her initial job here at Castle Ravenloft, her love affair with Sergei, her plans to get married, and at the very end, it ends right before Sergei's death. Talks about Leo missing. You remember Leo, and she refers to him as the stepbrother. Leo, Strahd, and Sergei's stepbrother has gone missing, and Strahd says he may have been killed by Turks while out hunting. That's the rumor that's going around when Strahd really knows that his lover murdered him. And it also reveals that Sergei wants to stay and still loves his brother Strahd and wants Strahd to be by his side since their father, the king, is dead, to be by his side to give away to be by his side as his father as he marries Tatyana, and they plan to leave afterwards. So this is kind of a happy to somber story. It talks about the dark year 346 as well, when a lot of people die in Barovia at the end of the war and at the beginning when Strahd comes to power. So it's kind of a great player handout for them to read, but again, reveals that there is a secret door here in the room. That secret door in the room is right here behind the mirror, and that opens up to the ladder here, whoop, where the players can travel through the secret room and make it into the tower here, which is the Heart of Sorrow Tower. So there's a way to go into the Heart of Sorrow Tower, then out onto the walls, where she would probably meetings with and interludes with Sergei, her lover. So this was a really interesting location to flesh out. There wasn't really much here. So the mirror ties in the Overlook, her suicide. The diary ties in the secret door, also what was going on with Leo, Strahd, and Sergei, bringing it all together. It's a fun player handout to give out as well. Now, the only other locations up here that are worth noting are these hallways. We have the north and south turret post access halls, and in these halls with the spider webs, I don't like to run them heavily with encounters. I do have a 25% chance of a swarm of spiders attacking them in either one of these hallways. For the most part, these areas up here, the archer's post, are empty. They may find some arrows or some bolts, a crossbow or a bow, but these areas provide two important things for the players. They're empty spaces away from areas where you normally would have wandering monsters or random encounters. So it allows them to kind of hold up somewhere in the castle, give the players a little chance to reprieve. If my players were asking me, we want to take a short rest or maybe even attempt a long rest or something in here, these would be areas where Strahd normally doesn't go, and there's no reason for Strahd to go here or monsters go here. The whole hallways are covered in cobwebs and stuff. I mean, Cyrus Bellevue, nobody really goes here. There's no reason to go here. There's no treasure. There's nothing of value here. It's not a place you normally go. So if the players were thinking of taking a long rest and wanted to, a place that I would have a very low probability of an encounter for a short or long rest would be in these two archer posts, the north or south archer post here on this particular floor. And again, you have from the balcony over here where the Strahd Zombies, that drops down into the chapel area. Well, that's it for the Court of the Count, the second floor of Ravenloft. I really hope you like all the changes I've made. Make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. That lets me know. When you hit like, that lets me know that you like the content I'm producing. If you're interested in the free guide and the free content, there's links down below. There's also links if you're interested in supporting me in this epic campaign and getting access to a bunch of additional special thank you gifts and items. Until next time, may all your rolls be critically successful.